The girl lay in her cozy warm bed and read a novel, and did not notice how she fell into a very sound sleep. While the girl was asleep, she felt that she somehow became cold. Began to rub where her blanket, but could not find it. Waking up to cover herself, she thought, did she fall off the bed or something? When the girl is finally awake, she sits up and stares, which makes no sense. Hadn't she fallen asleep while reading the novel? How did she end up here? Looking around, it was some kind of cave, and she was sitting on a rock. Cold. That's why she was cold. The girl tried to get up and noticed that her legs hurt very badly. She began to examine herself. What kind of clothes was she wearing? Unclear. She noticed that many were sore because they were all covered in wounds. Okay, she'll think about it later. Why isn't she wearing strange clothes? Where is she now? Gotta get to work on her legs and injuries. So many wounds and abrasions. While the girl was looking at her wounds and abrasions, 2 other girls were walking near the cave. She noticed them and listened. What were they talking about? One of the girls said, "Look how fainting was fake." The girls continued to talk further. One of them said, "I did it to get the Lord's attention." The other girl said, "That really is a disgusting woman, dear Ling, who does nothing but seduce guys with her eyes." The main character noticed that the girls looked strange. They both had ears on their heads, and their costumes were themed something like leopard and panther. I don't get it. And actually, she wondered, Lion Man? Dear Lin? Where did that even come from? As suddenly, girls, came the memory of exactly the name of the protagonist of the novel she was reading. There is remembered at once an incident when her friend ran up to her and said, "Lu Lin, how many times do I have to tell her to read this?" and slipped the girl a novel book. The girl named Lin said, "She will read it, but later. Does the main character in this novel happen to have a name like her?" Lu Lin, before reading this book, she read reviews on the internet. It says that Dear Lin is manipulative, and that she is cannon fodder that will tragically die. The reviews were that she finally died. Dear Alan is a professional manipulator, and she suggests to her, "Read this, isn't it too cruel?" Lin said. So, at her friend's insistence, she did read most of Married to a Beast in Another World. And this scene is completely in line with what was written in the novel, Luling reflected. And then Luling realizes that everything points to the fact that she didn't just get into the book. She got into the body of a manipulative girl, the very same girl. While Lin was trying to remember what was what, a girl with gray ears approached her, putting her clawed fingers to her throat, told her, "If she clings to Mr. Lionmeng again, she will break all her horns." Understood, and Lin immediately replied that she understood, and would leave right away. Lin stood up and got ready to leave. Thinking that all such people were new and places unknown, it was better not to run into conflicts. Lena. As she walked along, she was thinking about her own thoughts and didn't notice the man standing in front of her. She bumped her forehead against it and screamed, "Ouch!" What did she hear in response as she decided to throw herself into his arms? This man was Leo Man, a very tall and sturdy guy. His abs were generally round, especially the cubes on his stomach. The guy said, "Well, you've got the munchies, and you've decided to start pecking," Lin shouted. "Let her go." Lion Meng hugged the girl and said, "So let go so that you can grab it more correctly? Good. Since she's so active, why not do it?" Lin tried to shove off and says, "Back off!" Lin, she thought, didn't understand why so many people liked her. It was obvious that she was manipulative. Lin kept trying to break free from Lion Man's strong and powerful arms. The guy said he didn't know where she got the nerve to outright reject him. But she wasn't sick of him, right, sweetie? Lin was already starting to get frustrated, her tears flowing because she didn't want any of this. She could only barely mumble, "Save me." She thought he was too strong, and she could hardly even breathe. That's when the lightning struck. It was lightning she could see and hear. Your attention was immediately drawn to her. The ear girl standing nearby said that only a 4th-level warrior, the same level as Mr. Lion Meng, could do such a thing. Released at last, Stalin's Leoman said, "That's that guy's strength. He came here." Lin wondered. What kind of love could there be with a rude and uncultured savage? When he let her go, she fell to the ground, trying to catch her breath. She thought, what was the author thinking? How could such a thing be thought up and written? Lion Meng turned around to the guy who came over and said, "What's the matter, Snake Yan?" That guy who shot the lightning was Snake Yan. He came with the words that he had discovered his love partner here. Lion Man turned around and said, "Did he come because of the deer?" Lin, sitting on the cold ground, thought he had come to save her. Snake Yan said that Deerling was his partner and he had come to get her back. He walked over to the girl to take her in his arms, and he told the Lion Man that if he wanted to stop him, he would have to fight him. He would have to think hard about whether it was worth it. Lion Meng thought that although this fawn was unique, but Snake Yan was a level 4 fighter, and he wasn't willing to fight him for her. Snake Yan said to the girl, "Don't move, they will leave now, taking her in their arms." And Lin only said, "Aha." When the serpent Yan and Lin left, and the Lion Meng stayed and said that next time he would not give in to him so easily. As the serpent ran along with Lin, she had time to examine him a bit, thinking, how handsome he is after all, this protagonist. The guy looked at Lin and said he would kill her if she looked at him again. Lin Ah said he couldn't do that, and pressed herself even closer to the guy. Snake Yan replied that yes, but he might hurt her. When he carried her to the cave, the girl asked him to let her go. She was already safe. Her whole body ached terribly, the Yan serpent said, "Sit down," and placed her on a stone that was covered with something soft. The guy started smoothing something, either wool or obscure. The girl thought, how? Who would have thought he would be making her bed? Snake picked up the girl and carried her over to a rock that was already covered with something very soft. He said, "If you overestimate your strength, you will die." Lin, as she lay down on that soft bed, thought, and even though he's stubborn, the bed is really very comfortable and soft. The guy started looking at Lin's wounds, saying that she, or something, doesn't feel pain, gets wounded so easily. Lin said she felt it and asked her not to pull her skirt up so high. The guy said she was clearly no match for Lion Man's pussy. It wasn't clear to her why he was pressing on all her wounds with his finger, and it was really hurting her. Each time the pressing made the girl twitch, and Snake Yan said, "Don't twitch and don't make any noise. Bear the pain, keep going to press these wounds." Lin thought, though he's handsome, he's clearly not a medic, she's in too much pain. After he pressed all the wounds with his finger, he began to blow on them. Link, of course, thought he was being so affectionate, but some strange treatment, she didn't like it. She asked him to let her go. Snake Yan asked, "What's the matter? She's his favorite girl." Then the guy got as close to Lin as he could and said that he wasn't in a good mood right now. He can't promise he won't do anything to her. Besides, he likes her. Lin was able to get an even closer look at him, she thought. At close range, he's even more handsome. So as we can see, Lin has shifted in the book into a two-faced heroine who has the same name as her. And the handsome man in front of her is the protagonist of the novel, Snake Yan. Even though the book has finished its release, it's only recently been holding steady in the top 5 in terms of popularity. This book in general has a lot of positive reviews. How gorgeous it is! I'm even thinking of starting dating again. Yan's snake is so beautiful. Wants more author push. Very interesting book. Sharp of tongue but soft of heart, Snake Yan is very touching with his unwavering love for the main character. As the story progresses, many young girls fall in love with him. In her opinion, the novel became more popular not because of the romance line. It's because of the recklessly in love Snake Yan. He was very fond of Deerling. Lin thought he was her favorite character in the novel. Too bad the former heroine cheated him, though she survived the winter with him and promised to be his companion. She seduced other male beasts to drop Snake Yan at the right hour and gain the patronage of another. Lin thought the heroine was too duplicitous. She's not like that. She eventually left him and went to another tribe, even though they had been together all their lives. After Deerlin was abandoned by the tribe, and she died alone. Even though Snake realized that he was being used, his heart was broken. Lin wondered what kind of bitch she had turned into. She must treat him well, to atone for all the sins of the body's past owner. But first she has to explain her departure to Lion Man. And then Lin could think of an idea. She told Snake Yan that she had a reason to go to Lion Mang. The guy was really pissed off by some of the words, and he said that if one more time she said those 2 words, he would help her shut up. Lena got upset but said, Okay, she just wanted to say. And then the serpent came so close to Lin that he almost kissed her. Damn, what a heartbeat, thought Lin. Smayon said he's not in the mood for next time today. and her to be quiet, he ordered her fawn Lin. The girl thought, and how handsome he is, like a deer. Hallen could have been so foolish to trade him for Lion Man. Snake Yin said, let's go to the cave. He had a good fight with the boar. There will be something to eat for lunch. Meanwhile, in the tribe, people are gathered in the middle of the street, discussing something. One says, is the young elder poisoned? We should ask the Yan serpent, he should know, what shall we do? The elder sat on the ground, twisted in pain and groaning, the people around him trying to do something to help, but they didn't know what to do. At that time they didn't send the youngest to fetch Snake Yan-san to come and examine the elder. Snake, they were on a hunt and the young elder got injured. They don't know what to do, only you can help them. Running up to the cave began to shout a little boy with beautiful ears. Then Snake and Olenahallen came out of the cave and she asked the young elder, who is that? The serpent said, lead the little boy, and the latter replied, ah, thank you very much. As he left, Snake turned to Lin and told her that if ever again she went to see Lion Meng, she knew what he would do. The boy with the beautiful ears thought that he had just heard a good gossip. He should tell everyone in the settlement right away. Before leaving, Snake threw Lin a pouch. She caught it and didn't know what to do with it. He walked over to the girl and told her to treat the wounds. As for the marriage with Lion Man, keep in mind that he will be back soon. When Snake left, Lin returned to her aching legs with many wounds and abrasions. All the wounds were baking and aching. Lin thought that a world without painkillers was too hard for her. It really hurt. While Lin was moaning in pain, some small yellow-colored creature appeared in front of her. It said, "Tu-ta-ta-ta has come at your call. He is your little hiccup system." Huh, Lin said. She knew the Papadians had their own system. Taking him in her arms, Lin asked him for help. Little Tu, could he help relieve the pain? Tu-ta-ta-ta, there's a keyword search going on, said the little unknown creature. A few seconds passed and that Tu said the painkiller is near you. Lena turned around and saw the pouch that Snake Yan had given her. Even so, she said, is this the one Snake Yan gave? Opening the pouch, she saw some purple weed. Tu said this herb can relieve pain. Put it on the wound, you'll feel hot for the first 10 minutes, but after that the pain will go away. Lin said he's cool. Then the yellow-haired creature said that the little Tu could only do the search once a day. Lin thought for a moment. It's too bad it's only once a day. And already Snake Yan and the boy appeared in the distance. Then the yellow Tu disappeared. When Snake came closer, Lin asked, "What's wrong, Sirius Early?" The guy replied, "Uh-huh. The young elder is infected with spider poison. It needs to be neutralized by you." Taking the pouch he had left for Lin, he said that he didn't know much about this poison, but would act on the possibilities. He will try every special and possible herb to help the elder. Tu appeared from behind and shouted, "Wouldn't it be better to use Chinese violet right away?" Her face tensed up. She didn't want anyone to notice Tu. Lin took it and asked why he took the risk. What if someone saw him? But Tu said, "Mistress, don't worry, the others can't see him." Then Lin shouted out that she knew which herb could save the young elder. Snake Yan turned around, and the little boy asked Olenin, what was studying medicinal herbs. Taking out a Chinese violet from her pouch, Lin said that it could neutralize the poison. The boy with the ears asked, "She was sure you couldn't risk poisoning a young elder. They're not in the tribe." And then Tu was indignant. What kind of a fool doubts little Tu? Lin said she was sure. Snake Yan hugged the girl and said that he believed her. The boy immediately followed to the elder's place, made a special gruel from this flower and fed it to him. The elder of the clan was Tien Bear. He was the young elder's father. Tien Bear bowed and said that he owed his lordship Snake Yan for saving his son's life with the help of the Chinese violet. "I am eternally grateful to you." The serpent replied, "Don't thank him. It was not his merit. The cure, the antidote, was discovered by Lan Ling. So if there's anyone to thank, it's her." Lin said she shouldn't. It was her duty as a clan representative. The women standing nearby began to get indignant about the dear Lin only thanks to her. "What are you saying?" Another girl said, "Yeah, what else is she good for but to lure the men of the Beastmen?" "That's right. Didn't she deceive Mr. Snake Yan?" Lin was really upset at how badly the previous body mistress had gotten along with everyone, since no one believed she had done anything good. And then Bear Tien, the chief of the clan, prodded this girl who talked too much and said, "Is she allowed to talk about Mr. Snake Yan's fiancé? She needs to apologize alive." Bear Tien himself also thought that their clan was prospering because of Mr. Snake. They shouldn't ruin their relationship in any way. The girl who had been doing a lot of judging came over and said, "I'm sorry, dear Hallen, she was wrong," but her tone was completely uncool. Lin walked over to the girls and said, "It's okay, just don't do it again." But she herself reflected that the former heroine was notorious. It was better to keep a low profile so as not to get into conflicts. Tianbear said that he had to go now, but at home he would teach that mouthy girl a lesson by taking the girl who insulted Lin by the scruff of the neck. "Ugh!" said the girl who had insulted Lin. "How long will the triumph of that bitchy deer girl continue?" And then Tianbear said, "Shut up." Snake Yan said that the girl was so rude to Lin. It's right for her to be angry with her as before. The guy who hugged Lin added that she knows that no matter what she does, he will always be on her side. Lin thought the former fawn was indeed lucky to be the object of such favor. How ungrateful she was. Snake Yan saw that the girl was thinking and asked what she was thinking about. Lena replied, "Oh, nothing." She asked, "Just wondering why he even likes her. She's just someone who doesn't consider the feelings of others. How can anyone even like her? So why did he like her?" The guy was very surprised at this question. She caught him off guard. He said how could she talk about herself like that? She always had been, and he fell silent. Lin looked at him and mooned her eyes, wanting to hear. So what had she always been like? Since a long time ago, this queer feeling had never left him. They had grown up together since childhood. She shone her light on the people around her like a little sunshine. People like him. Jan remembered an incident in his childhood when his other friends threw fruit at him and shouted, "Cold-blooded fearmongers like him would have crushed him like that. A foundling," they shouted. She protected him. She chased away all the boys who hurt him and yelled at them, "Get out of here, you're the nephews." When the boys ran away, they'd mutter, "It's dear Lin again. What does she think she's doing?" She walked up to Snake Yan, put her hands on his head to keep the rain from dripping down on him, and said, "Don't listen to their nonsense. As per her, he's a cold-blooded cutie, and she likes him a lot." She took his hand, put it to her cheek, and said, "How nice and cool, all because he needed that little bit of her warmth." From then on, he decided he had to hold on to those crumbs of warmth. But when the tribe was later stripped of the sacrifices, Lana Lin was different. It was as if she had been switched. She became cold and angry and was always rude to him. She said to Snake Yan, to him, that he had nothing else to do. As she was leaving with one of the men, the man said, "You treat Jan the snake like that, as if you weren't the least bit afraid of him. Alan said he's under her thumb. He's a bore." And then he realized this was not the Lana he knew. Snake said she wasn't always like this at all. And then Lin said with confidence that she would henceforth no longer be so bad at all. Here he would see. She's not dear Lin, and so she's the same old has nothing to do with her. What matters most is the rest of her life. And now that she's here by fate, she no longer has to be the bitch everyone hates. Lin told Snake Yan, "Thank you," to him for always being patient and understanding with all her nonsense. But she couldn't go on like this any longer. Her way forward, she'll come through on her own, one step at a time. The girl said it was time for her to grow up. Jan reflected. The Lana Lin he knew was finally back. "Good," Jan said. "Though he doesn't know what happened to her, he will keep her safe and watch over her from now on." Walking over to the girl and hugging her, he said, "Then let him see how his future wife-to-be is going to grow up." Lin said, "Yeah, she's serious, she's not a bully." The young elder of the tribe finally woke up. As he came to his senses, he opened his eyes. People gathered around him, and his father. The boy with the ears said, "Glorious second elder, you are awake at last." Said, "Wasn't he bitten by a poisonous spider? Who saved him?" The boy with the ears said to the second elder, "You just don't get angry. It was dear Lin." Just then, the elder cried out, "How is this possible? What kind of game is this woman playing this time to seduce him?" While Lin and Yanmila were chatting on the sidelines, then the second elder shouted, "Dear Holland, show yourselves!" Said when she saw the second elder, "Oh, your wound, elder, has not yet healed. What made you come out in such a hurry?" The second elder shouted, "Don't play innocent." He was very angry and displeased. Pointing his fingers at Lin, he said, "Mr. Snake Yan, don't let this woman fool you. She has tried to seduce him more than once or twice before. She's definitely up to something again." And then Lin remembered how the book had been written. How could she have forgotten that? Before the incident happened, Lin and the second elder were walking in the forest. Lin said, and the second elder said, "Here is some fresh fruit for you. Taste it. Which is sweeter, the fruit or Lan Lin?" In the book about laziness, Holin actually switched to having an affair with the second elder for a while when she couldn't continue to support her lover Lion Man. Alan thought it was her payback. The second elder shouted again, "And dear Lin, he won't believe that she saved him without expecting anything in return. What is her purpose? Spit it out immediately." Snake Yan interceded, saying, "Second elder, it would be inappropriate at the entrance to his cave to interrogate his fiancée, wouldn't it?" Snake Yan said that after all, he is her fiancé. That's when the guy came up clean and said, "You better come up with a flawless excuse to explain this whole thing." Yan said, "Go ahead and tell the second elder the reason why she didn't give him a pass, and he'll see what he's worse at than the second elder to fix it." Lin stood there thinking, "Save me. Help me. This is a weird showdown. And on the grounds of male jealousy, just plain creepy. Looks like she has to figure out a way to finally cut off the former body mistress's past from her future life. Otherwise, life will be simply unbearable. Day by day, fixing the past dear's past joints." All Lin could think of was that her eyesight had failed her before. That was exactly what had happened before. If she could lay eyes on another elder, it was because her eye was blurred. There was no such thing in her mind now. From this day onwards, she is Lan Ling Ling, no longer the Shuramura-crazed deer woman that she was before. Now she wants with all her heart to get down to business, to gather supplies for the winter. The second elder said, "Her and gathering supplies for the winter. She used to do nothing but eat and flirt with men." Lin said that she used to think narrowly and only noticed the beastmen around her. Now she just hoped that everyone would be able to get through the winter without loss. The former mistress of the body chose to marry a serpent, and not for the sake of winter supplies. In doing so, she confirms that the need for food in this world is far greater than she realized. Since she has come from modern times, she must do her best to survive in this world herself and to help everyone else survive. The second elder said, "How is that possible?" He couldn't believe her, that she had changed so much, but only Snake Yan said that he believed her. Lin said, "And second elder, before she pestered you because of her immaturity. That won't happen again." The second elder thought for a moment. It seemed that dear Ling had really changed. She used to harass him so much before, and then she suddenly said that she would stop. He should have been happy when he heard that. But why was he a little upset? The elder began to swivel his head. No, this was sure to be another of her new ways of getting his attention. He would never like a woman like her. When the elder left, Snake Yan hugged Lin and put her on his lap. The girl asked why he had hugged her out of the blue and put her on his lap. Lin saw a smile on his face and asked what he was so happy about. Yan kissed her neck and said, "She refused second elder, which he is very happy about. Don't worry about it. He will help her realize all the things she talked about. He won't let her lose face." Lin stood up and said that it wasn't necessary. She could manage on her own, which is to be expected from the most popular male character in the book. If Snake Yan keeps this up, she's sure to fall in love with him. However, the novel's protagonist will appear in 2 months. Once it appeared, everyone's attention would be completely focused on it. Snake Yan will be no exception. In the finale, the protagonist is destined to be together with the protagonist. Well, when the real protagonist appears, Yan will treat her as well as Lin. So what will she do when that time comes? What's the most important thing then? The fact that everyone's former mistress of the body harmed everyone's favorite, and the protagonist is eventually unanimously sentenced to death. In other words, the death of the former dearling will be the culmination of all the general discontent it will cause. And the wounding of the protagonist will only serve as a trigger. Yan approached Lin and asked why she was shivering. Was she cold? But the girl didn't freeze. She just imagined her future like in the book. She was very upset. So she immediately set about her new life, telling Snake Yan if he could take her to the mountains to gather herbs. Even though it was already dark, they went into the forest anyway. Lin walked and thought that what the tribe lacked most of all was food and herbs for winter. The quickest way to change the image of the original body mistress as a troublemaker in everyone's mind is to become someone useful to the tribe. As Lin walked, she hesitated and almost hit her face on a branch. The serpent held her back. "Carefully," he said, almost hitting, grabbing Lin into his arms and removing the branch with his hand. Lan Ling, why did she ask to be taken to the mountains at this late hour? It could be dangerous here, the girl replied. Of course, to find supplies for the winter. She did say she could manage on her own, didn't she? The guy looked at the girl and thought that Lin looked so beautiful right now. Lin started calling out to Little Two to see if he could scan the neighborhood for any edible plants. Pee-wee, scan the nearest edible herbs for us. Stand by. Wow! Mistress, and this place is full of all sorts of useful things. Up ahead, a short distance from here, is a large patch of oxblood and a large nest of wild goose. Chinese thistle. In folk medicine, an infusion of the root is used for fever, severe nervous excitement, and infectious diseases. Lin turned to Snake Yan and said, She has found something useful. Hurry up and follow her. Once she arrived at the area, Lin began to look around, but didn't notice the goose that was standing behind her. Snake Yan shouted, Watch out, Lin, and ran up to her. Grabbing Lin, he jumped back with her so that the goose wouldn't have time to bite them. When they jumped back, the entire impact came to the Yan serpent. Baby, what did the goose egg say? The big goose is the mistress of the body. You've just entered their territorial area. You couldn't tell me before. And the baby cried, saying, I'm sorry, mistress, he forgot. Lin asked the serpent if he was in one piece, if he was okay, if he had made a big mistake. The guy told her not to worry. Her male isn't easily maimed. When he tried to get up, something disturbed him. He was in pain. Shit, I asked. What is it? Did you hurt yourself somewhere? I wondered why she was so worried about him. Lin replied, She's just worried because she'll feel guilty if he gets hurt because of her. The serpent said she was his mate, and for him to protect her is natural and right. He won't let any harm come to her, his very death. And finally, the couple had their first kiss. Lin, of course, tried to push him away, but I took her hand and wouldn't let her. And finally, they melded together in a passionate kiss. Lin asked why he kissed her. Boris asked if the look she was giving him now didn't say that he should have kissed her. Not at all, replied Lin. Then Yan said, That's how next time don't look at him like that if you don't want him to kiss you, or he won't be able to resist the urge to do it again. Lin looked at him so much she just screamed in her heart, Help, he's too good at flirting too. While they were talking, someone from behind the bushes was watching them. It turned out to be a girl who was gathering brushwood, she said. When did the male she liked manage to get so close to that vile deer lynx? Lin looked around and saw that the system was indeed not deceived, and there was indeed a lot of oxeye here. She said, Come on, Snake Yan, there is so much oxeye here, we need to collect it. A palm-sized herbaceous medicinal plant that grows in coastal areas or wet meadows. Snake Yan came up from behind and hugged Lin, saying these herbs are unpalatable, and the clan members will just throw them away as garbage if she collects them. The guy said if she wanted to gather food, he'd take her to a place where there was plenty. But Lin said no snakes. Let her go to the ground. The guy asked if she was sure. The girl said yes. He didn't get it. She's picking herbs, not food. I was very surprised by the herbs he asked, and Lin said yes. Herbs, put her on the ground, she will collect the herbs. Serpent Yan somehow failed to hold the girl so badly that she almost fell over. When he put her on the ground, he told her to forgive him. He didn't often hug a female, so she's inexperienced. Next time he'll be more careful. Lin thought he was apologizing for never hugging women so innocent. Well, really. The girl is all in her dreams. He makes her heart beat faster. The guy asked why she was blushing. He had offended her, and Lin said, No, let's go back to picking herbs. It's okay. And then, while they were gathering these herbs, Lin decided to tell me what the palm is made of and what it is. The palm has a bitter taste. It's a treasure. The roots are dried in the sun and cut into slices. This plant will not only cure a cold or haryaka, but also soothes the liver, relieves weakness. While Lin was saying all this, the Snake Yan thought, What a nice female. She knows so much. Rin said that if they had this herb, they might not be afraid of colds in the future. Suddenly she heard some cat-like sound. Snake Yan hugged the girl and thought to herself as if it was the voice of a big cat. As the grass grew tall, they saw two animals. Lin said that Yan's snake called them big cats. The serpent said they would get tired when they finished mating. Next time they might start hunting for them. He suggested she take the opportunity to watch the big cats mate. In real life, big cats are protected by the state. Hunting and trading big cats is severely punished. Lin asked, Watching? Why watch them mate? Snake Yan replied, Each animal species has its own behavioral habits when mating. Watching allows you to learn the postures of other species when they mate. Snake Yan said that, for example, for a big cat, biting a partner's neck during mating is a good idea. This will prevent the partner from escaping when they are most aroused. Then Snake Yan pinned Lin from behind against a tree and said that their snake tribe was more lustful than the beastmen. Once they find a partner, they just want to be with her all the time. Did she like mating snakes or big cats? The girl was very surprised. She didn't like either one. She began to shove the Yan serpent away from her as far as she could. And then she runs off saying she doesn't know. The guy yells out to her, "Lan Lin, where did she run to?" Just the main thing. The male heroes of the beastman world express their feelings so directly. Although it's true, just listening to his words makes her blush, but she's a modern girl, she can't take it. We have to find a way to stay away from the Yang serpent or she'll be hitting on him all day. She finally succeeded. Stone knives were ages old, very difficult to use, but as long as she had an iron knife, it wouldn't be a problem. After they gathered herbs and some food, they returned to their settlement and began to make preparations. I remember in the original book, the philosophy of life here is public ownership. The supplies that people gather all belong to the tribe together, and they usually eat together. The rest is used by the tribe and distributed equally by the patriarch. These supplies will also be transferred from public to private ownership. But she collects in the palm of her hand. Whether it would be considered public or private in private, she doesn't know. While Lin was sitting and cutting the hair, a boy with ears came running toward them. He shouted, "Mr. Snake Yan and Ling Ling." Lena came back and saw him. She said, "It's a mouse." The boy said that the young patriarch is asking everyone to hurry up and get this month's food, or they are running low. Food? Lin asked in surprise. She thought it was a little different here. When they came to receive a month's worth of food from the young patriarch, the patriarch held out his hands and handed over the food with the words, "Serpent Yan, come here. This is his portion." This was the part of a 4th-level warrior. Then the patriarch turned around and took some fruit from under his nose, saying, "As for you, Lin," turning around, he gave her literally a few fruits in her hands. "This is your portion." Why so little, Alin thought. Aren't they dividing everything equally? Their parts are clearly not equal if you compare the snake Yanu's part to hers. At this point, a girl came up and said that she does not contribute to the tribe, does not join the gathering group, or gather with everyone else. Besides, she spends the day next to a man and makes trouble and does what she wants. And she still doesn't have enough to do. Lin thought, is it really that bad? Turns out there's a labor distribution here. And she thought it was equal. Snake Yan didn't say anything, so she didn't get upset. From now on, everything that touches him is also hers. He gave her all the food. The girl who was in the forest in the bushes came to them. She thought that these were the supplies that Mr. Snake Yan had obtained at the risk of his life. Why should he give them to a woman who does nothing? The young patriarch made this rule from the beginning. I hope everyone can work hard to contribute to the tribe, this girl said. If a person carries the least contribution to the tribe but gets more food, is that right? Exactly, that is not fair, said the tigress girl. If she can get more food by clinging to men, here she is a tigress, will also seduce then men to get more food. The tigress girl came up to the patriarch and began to hug his arm, and began to rub herself against him, saying, Young patriarch, what do you think? But the patriarch did not like this. He said, Tigress, get away. But the tigress began to laugh and pinch his arm, saying that she knew he really liked being touched by women. The tigress thought, if you can't pick a good woman now, then he should find someone to solve this problem, and said in short, she wouldn't let Lan Ling eat this snake Yanu snake food. Then Lin said, what if she joined the gathering group? The tigress asked in surprise. Does she want to join the gathering group? She and everyone started to say that the tigress asked, is she that she wants to slow down the speed of their impossible tribe? The members of the gathering team are usually old and weak men and women who have lost the ability to hunt. They are not a competitive group of hunters led by Snake Yanwu. If she joins a gathering team, won't it help her avoid dealing with the Yanwu snake, she thought, and said although she has no experience in food gathering, she will study hard and won't let anyone down. The patriarch was shocked at what she said after she was insulted by the tigress. She didn't burst out laughing, but laughed. The next day, Lin was supposed to go out to collect food with everyone else. but she overslept. When she woke up, she realized she was already late. She didn't eat and didn't get ready, but ran straight to the group. She was very anxious the first day. She overslept and was late for work. Following her, the yawn snake ran after her, grabbing her arm. He asked her to wait and the girl stopped. The guy said he wouldn't be around and asked to be careful. Stay with everyone in case of danger. Agreed? Lin said she knew everything, and she was running late so he wouldn't worry. She would run. The guy also added that if she doesn't want to go, let her come back and don't worry. He'll support her. Lin thought, how can he say that, after all? She has to work together with everyone else. The guy led her to the group that was already waiting for her. Lin walked and thought about the fact that Snake Yan really didn't let her go after he finished speaking, forcibly taking her again and kissing her, again without asking Lin. Then they approached the group, and Lin said, okay, just leave her and go back to the settlement. Lin said goodbye to him and thought that he had to leave quickly or else bad business. The woman standing in the group said that Lan Lin was all waiting, just for her. Hurry up, Lin said. Sorry I'm late. She said it won't happen again. While Miss Lin was trying to apologize for being late, a new girl, the one who was in the forest following them, was already coming up to Snake Yan. She asked to talk to him about something. While Snake Yan was thinking about his own fault, that he was to blame, put Lin in an awkward situation. Then the girl said, Snake Yan, she likes him, and suggested living together. All they'll give birth to are the smartest cubs. Just then, Lin heard that girl and Snake Yan Yu talking. She wondered if someone was confessing her love to him. Snake Yan said that he already has a partner. But the girl replied Lan Ling, she didn't like him at all. What good is such a person? The guy replied, whoever Lan Lin is, it is not for her to judge. The girl continued, what is the meaning of your loyalty? Lan Lin know what she was doing with the Lion Lord behind your back. Lin thought that something had happened between her and the lion. The guy walked off in the direction of the settlement, and Lin thought, at least he didn't let himself be fooled. The girl went to Yan's snake and hugged him from behind, and said that sooner or later she would have another male. But she only liked him, Yan's snake. While Lin was standing and watching from behind, a panther girl came up and said that everyone was leaving. Why don't she hurry up? Lin said, wait a minute, what about Sue's goat? The panther girl replied that she knew the way and would come later. Let's take care of ourselves. Taking Lin's hand, the girls ran. Lin thought that this was the most important moment. How could she leave? The girl really wondered if he would believe what Goat Sue was saying, if he would accept her confession. The group walked towards the forest. Everyone hurry up. Take advantage of the spring by finding more food so you won't starve in the winter. Lin took a stick, beat the fruit from the tree to the ground, and thought about how she would think of Sue's goat with Yan's snake. Hands down, she doesn't know what they are doing there. If the serpent Yan is with the goat, he will stay away from her. The plot of the furious battles in the novel has nothing to do with her, the scapegoat. It is clear that this is exactly what she seeks. But why is she so sad at this prospect? Just then, Lin heard Sue's goat. Had she returned already? I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, the girl said. Lin immediately heard that Sue's goat had returned, and thought, need to look at her facial expression. But it was unclear whether she had been rejected or accepted. Man, so confused. Settling down on the ground, taking the fruit, she began to eat it. Any way you slice it, it'll be a hit. Why not have a treat? Thought the girl. There were mushrooms growing in the clearing, and Sue's goat spotted them, saying that today she would pick small umbrellas and make appetizing appetizers. The girl who was standing beside her said, how nice that she is with them, only Sue's goat. What umbrellas, not poisonous, no, otherwise they wouldn't even dare to pick them. Lin saw that these umbrellas were poisonous and ran and shouted, wait! This poisonous umbrella is not edible, don't pick it! Goat Sue stood up and said, Lan Lin, why does she say this umbrella is poisonous? The girl next to her was there, she said, it's not red, so it's edible. Lin said she doesn't know how to explain it, but she is sure that this umbrella is poisonous. Lin walked over to this umbrella, plucked it off, held it in her hands and said, the creature won't get poisoned and die instantly after eating them. At first there will only be mild vomiting and diarrhea, but after 3 to 4 days, the toxin will spread through the body and the creature will die suddenly from the island of poisoning. There is no cure for this poison. Lin remembered how in her past life, she had watched many popular biology videos on the internet and encountered many strange mushrooms. This was one of them, the poisonous springfly mushroom. Since this springfly mushroom looks like a non-poisonous mushroom, a best friend in a past life almost ate it. This made a strong impression on her. The girl who was standing next to Sue's goat shouted, "In 3 or 4 days? Could it be that the neighboring beast will die because of the edible white umbrella that Goat Sue gave him?" Goat Sue shouted, "What is this nonsense? She's talking nonsense. How can you die from a poison umbrella in 3 or 4 days? Enraged, Sue's goat pushed Lin into the cliff with shouts that she was just jealous of her ability to identify umbrellas and wanted to set her up. Lin, as she flew, thought, is she really going to die? Also, what she really hopes is that she won't look ugly after she dies. Her only thought was, as she dies, bring her back to the modern era. At that moment, a guy was walking below, over the cliff, and was also picking fruit. When he heard a scream, he looked up and saw someone flying at him. The guy realized in a flash and picked Lin up so the girl didn't fall. When she opened her eyes, she saw a handsome young man with cute ears fluffed up on his head. He said that it turns out his mom was right when she said that when his beast had its first heat, God would provide a partner. The boy leaned over, smiled, and said that heaven had sent him such a beautiful partner, more beautiful than the partners of other animals. He was about to start the seduction, but suddenly, Lin told him to let her go because she wasn't his partner, and the girl squirmed, but realized that it seemed like the guy wasn't on top of her anymore, and nothing was happening. What's wrong? Why has everything gone quiet? She thought. The guy sat next to her and said sister to her. How can he go on? He can't, Lin replied with a smile. She had nothing more to say to him. Then they were having a nice conversation sitting by a tree and Lin was telling her story. The boy asked if that meant she had been pushed. Who dared to do that to his sister? He said. Lena replied that it was probably because she was her rival, and also she had caught her picking poisonous mushrooms. Don't worry, sister, he will protect her now. No one will dare to hurt her anymore. The Few leopard is very strong. It can fight 10 times. Lena said truthfully. Leopard Fu? Asked Sis. She believes him, doesn't she? At one point he grabbed the girl's arms and laid her down on the grass, saying, It's okay. He can prove it, but Lin said she believes him. Let go. She thought, oh, why did his energy become so powerful, and did the power appear from somewhere? Taking her hand, he said, Don't be afraid. He won't touch her, except in return. Nurse, help him with the runoff, just once, the guy asked. Can I? But only Lin didn't want that. She lay there thinking, where is the serpent? I wish he'd save her. The guy had already begun his seduction, but Lin kept thinking, where's the serpent? Save her. At this moment, just as the snakes, I did not come to check on Li Lin passing by the girls. He overheard their conversation as one asks, Did she really push the deer, Lin? And Sue's goat said she didn't mean to. She accidentally did. Goat Sue asked not to tell anyone about it, or else the young elder would kick her out of the tribe and she would die. But then Koza Sue threatened, said, if the girl all dare to tell what happened, she will kill her like a Dolin. Approaching the girls, Snake Yan said, You won't tell? What exactly happened? The girls see the guy, they're like water in their mouths. Snake Yan threatened, saying to Goat Sue, Tell me what she did to Deerlin. He grabbed her arm. The girl began to mumble something incomprehensible. Just then, the second girl couldn't stand it and said to Snake Yan, Goat Sue pushed Deerling down. Hurry up and go and see. Koza Sue, who covered the girl's mouth, said, Not true, she's an accident. Then Snake Yan went up to Goat Sue and said, Stay here. If anything happens to Deerling, she'll be in trouble. Goat Sue thought, why does he keep protecting her? It's the scum of the Deerling. She will never compare to her. She'll make him, the Snake Yan, lay at her feet and beg for forgiveness. Meanwhile was able to push this guy away with the words, She doesn't want to. She's not his partner. He should find someone else. The guy got upset and asked, Why doesn't she want him? Even though he's inexperienced. Lin thought, how he switches from cute to bossy so easily. He moved closer to her again and asked again, Let's try this one time. He's begging. Lin said to stop. She already had a partner. The guy said, What difference does it make? Even if she already has a partner, it doesn't matter because a female can have multiple partners, especially since the sister is so beautiful. Lin tried to get up, saying he was talking nonsense. She was leaving and her partner was waiting for her. Lin went towards her group, and this guy thought she was leaving, and he should have another chance. He asked again. Sister, he was wrong to grab her skirt. He made a very sweet face and said he'd be obedient and find another partner, but don't leave him. Lin thought that he was such a child. If she left him alone, he might face danger. Okay, she thought. Then she said, really swear if she took him with her, he'd find another partner and wouldn't hit on her anymore. The guy said, okay, he'd do it. But only Leopard Fu has another plan. He'll be her friend first because he'll gain her trust, and then he'll win her over and she'll be his. Lin held out her hand to him and said, come with her. Leopard Fu thought his mother said that the best hunters are those who wait for the prey to take the bait. Then Snake Yan comes out of the forest and says, Dearling, who is this? Only the Leopard Fu doesn't worry about anything, thinking that his mom told him that his sister, who will be with the Leopard Fu, will soon have offspring. The Leopard Fu is a purebred beast who knows how to manipulate and easily rub in the trust in beastmen. Lin, when she saw Snake Yan, she got excited and threw her arms around him, saying, Snake Yan, he's finally here. The guy didn't even expect it. He said, of course he came, and thought thank God she was all right. Then he asked Dearling, who is this pup? The Leopard Fu yelled that he wasn't a puppy yet. He was an adult. Lin said that this leopard who saved her, if it wasn't for him, she would have crashed to death. Snake Yan promised to take him to the tribe. Snake Yan said that he will not come out of this leopard, emanating the scent of a beast in the carriage, and he has bad intentions towards her. He cannot allow her to be near him. Leopard Fu thought, he doesn't know if he is her partner, but he is very strong and powerful. Took Lin by the blouse, but Snake said forget it to him. Then the leopard said, it's okay, sister. He's used to being alone, and if he suddenly encounters danger, he can handle it. Everything will be all right. He hopes, sister, to visit him from time to time. The leopard asked that she promise him that she would find a partner. In his condition, he can't do it on his own. There are few suitable mates left in the wild, and he may be alone for life. Snake Yan didn't think about how there could be a male with such a strong odor among the beasts of men. Blin started to ask Snake. She thinks they can. But the guy interrupted her and said he didn't want her thinking about anyone but him. Took her by the hand, in his arms, and ran off. Leopard Fu said, goodbye, sister, hoping they will meet again. Lin thought too. Poor little guy. She felt so sorry for him. She really should keep him. Well, Snake Yan doesn't like him. Snake Yan wants to take him with him. The guy said beastmen have good survival skills. He won't die. Lin said she knew, but he had saved her, and she wanted to thank him somehow. She looked at Snake Yan once more and asked him to keep the boy. Snake Yan kissed her again without asking. This kiss saw the Leopard Fu. He was furious because he was very hopeful. Snake Yan said that only this time he was letting him go with them, and Lin said, understood. Then Lin went up to the leopard and said, come with us. She will take you to the tribe. The boy replied, thank you. Serpent thought that when he returned to the tribe, he would no longer see Deerslayer Lin. Leopard Fu thought completely differently from Snake Yan. He was sure that when they returned to the tribe, Link would be his suitor and would be left behind. When everyone returned to the group that was gathering food, the leopard girl saw the fawn and called out to her. Raising her hand, she shouted, Dear Helene! She had heard something hurt the goat for picking poisonous mushrooms. It was true. The serpent didn't grab the leopard girl's hand and said, don't you dare touch her. But the leopard girl said not to touch it. She drove the goat to the point that the goat now wants to commit suicide. Lin asked what suicide was. Yes, she hadn't yet repaid her for her fall off the cliff, and there she was already deciding to kill herself. After the old priest died, no one removed the toxin, and eventually Wei is dead, who was together with the goat. Su said, was Deerling right? And are these mushrooms really poisoned mushrooms that the goat Su was picking? The one standing next to her said, the mushrooms she was picking are not poisonous. And who knows if Wei poisoned himself by eating the mushrooms or if someone poisoned him. Upset and ran with the words, she picked these mushrooms with good intentions, she didn't want anyone to suffer from hunger, and Dear Halen specifically said she wanted to poison everyone. All of you believe Dear Halen, so let her die. Elder Junior said, stop her. Don't let her cause trouble for the tribe. The junior elder approached the reindeer herder and asked the goat Su said she had slandered her. What happened? Just then, Snake Yan came over to the junior chief and said that Dear Lin would never do such a thing in her life. But the elder said, However, the soup goat was shouting about wanting to commit suicide. So, while Kazasu wants to, die, then her clingy boyfriend, who's in love with her, runs after her. He told her not to think about it. If anyone should die, it should be Lin who slandered her. At this moment, Wei came to his senses and started saying something nonsense. Lin eventually realized that the man was hallucinating. If nothing was done to him, he would surely die. As she approached him, she saw that he was already drooling from his mouth. She realized that he was probably going to die. It looked like he had eaten some really poisonous mushrooms. And then the Okazawa came back and said, "Dear Helene, she knows you hate her, but she really wanted to help the tribe, so you can stop hurting her." The guy who was chasing her said, "Sir, why talk to that disgusting girl?" This guy who had fallen in love with a goat took a swing at Lin with words that he would take revenge, but his hand was stopped. Stopped by the leopard Fu, who said, "Sister, he's the one who pushed her off the cliff." Port Fu said she was bullying her and dared her to offend. He must have to punish her, or she wants to die. Leopard Fu came closer and closer to the Kesu and said that only over his dead body would no one dare to offend his woman. Lin jumped up, took the leopard's hand and said, "Don't touch her." The leopard asked, "Why did she hurt you so much?" Lin said that even though she was bothering her, he shouldn't touch her, or else his leopard Fu would be driven out of the tribe by the young elder. The leopard Fu said, "Okay," and thought that Deerling was really so kind. Then the leopard Fu thought, killing a young female in front of her would frighten her. In that case, he would kill her when no one else could see. The elder is watching all of this, and he can already sense that leopard Fu's murderous and powerful aura, even heavier than any tribe member who had killed thousands of beasts. Who is he? Lin walked up to the elder and addressed, "Young elder, she didn't slander the goat. If you believe her, she can prove it." The elder asked how she wanted to prove it. "Now she'll find the poisonous mushroom Wei ate in passing and save yours." Meanwhile, Yan's serpent brought water, he said, just as she asked, lightly salted. Lin asked the Yan snake to help her lift it, and the snake said, "Okay," and the leopard Fu also said, "Okay." Yan's serpent began to lift. As a leopard Fu came and stood between them, he said, "Don't get so close to your sister," and blocked his way. Serpent. I stood up and said, "That he could do it himself? How can you force a guest to do something?" Leopard Fu thought this guy was so thoughtful and he stole all her attention. Planted Wei. Then Lin was about to give him some water. But at that moment the leopard Fu asked his sister if there was anything he could do to help. Then Lin remembered and said, "Go and find a hard stick to place in your mouth. It's just that in the past life, the representatives of Junnan province distributed information on how to give emergency treatment for poisoning. One way is to wash the stomach and induce vomiting. Some percentage of physiologic saline is gradually infused into the stomach. A spoon is then used to irritate the root of the tongue and the walls of the larynx to induce vomiting. This is done until the liquid discharged from the mouth is as clear as water." Although there is no exact recipe for saline solution, but thinks that lightly salted water will have a similar effect. Leopard Fu ran with a stick and shouted what he had found. Pretty much all the help he could get. Lin said, "Great, everything is ready, we can get started." At this time the soup goat was coaxing the elder, telling him it was nonsense. How will salt water help? Goat Su continued to coax. What if Wei had a chance to recover, but Deerlin's torture would only drive him to his death? Then how should they be? The guy who had fallen in love with the goat said that Deerling was a know-nothing and unskilled woman. She couldn't be allowed to touch Wu. Then the goat thought, the priest of the tribe is dead, and without him, the Wei is doomed to die, using the death of the Wei to get rid of that Deerling forever. And that's a good idea. The young one came up and said, "This is Deerling. She guarantees it will save Wei's life." Lin thought that Wei was in a critical condition, and if she didn't help him, Su's goat would start spreading rumors about her the second she did. Lin said that she was sorry, young elder, she couldn't guarantee it, but she would try her best. But even if she is slandered, she can't leave someone to die without even trying to save them. Snake Yan walked over and took Lin's hand and said, "If you want to try it, go ahead." Snake Yan approached the elder and asked, "If he is not helped, he will die sooner or later anyway." "So what is he afraid of?" the elder said. "But if you die, his family will not leave them alone." Serpent Yan said that he would be responsible for his family, and Lenny Ha Lin, his date, and all her responsibilities he would take over. The elder waved his hand and said, "All right, do what you can to save him." When they gave Wei this salty water, everything came back. Lin turned to the leopard and said, "Make some more weakly salted water and bring it over." A fellow came up to the elder and said, "Young one, elder, at this rate there won't be any salt left for the tribe if the Ha-Lin deer continue to use it at this rate." The elder replied, "That's all right. The most important thing is to save the man." Wei had almost come to his senses by now. He said to the young elder, "He just saw a lot of little people dancing. What's wrong with him?" The elder asked Wei, "Have you woken up yet? Are you still not feeling well?" Wei said his stomach hurt a little and he felt a little nauseous. "It's better now. People don't dance." Lin rejoiced, saying, "Great, so the gastric lavage has worked. After the gastric lavage, this kind of feeling is a normal reaction of the body. We should give him some salt water with sugar, cover him with animal skins to keep him warm, and he will soon recover and go back to his normal life." The girls started to praise Lin, saying, "Dear Ha-Lin, you are such a smart girl. If it wasn't for you, Wei would be dead by now. Dear Ha-Lin saved the young elder, and then she's more awesome than the priest." Then one of the girls ran up to Lin and said, "Dear Ha-Lin," bowed to her. "Ever since her grandmother caught a cold, she has been getting worse every day. She doesn't like her cough, and she has lost a lot of weight and continues to lose weight. Can you help her?" Lin replied that these were symptoms of a common cold. She had some chopped Voloshka sickle that could cure this ailment. "All right, she will bring her medicine. Let Auntie make a decoction and drink it. She will feel better immediately." The girl was happy for her grandmother and said, "Really, thank you so much, Aline." The girls standing near Lin began to say that they had previously thought she was useless and reckless, but they were very much mistaken. She turned out to be very clever and kind. They want to say that the venison sow whom they admire is their idol, and only the Sioux goat was very upset. "How is this even possible?" she thought. "I mean, he was almost dead. Why did the reindeer save someone again?" Blin went up to the elder and said she had proof that she wasn't lying. Pointing to the puddle in which the mushroom lay, she said, "Look, this is what was in Wei's body. Induce vomiting. You can see the contents of the stomach. Even if Goat Sioux tries to deny the obvious, she won't succeed," Lin thought. "Young elder, now you believe that she did not hurt the Sioux goat." The elder replied, "It was indeed the same poisonous mushrooms that the Sioux goat was picking. The deaths of the tribe members that occurred earlier must be related to the poisonous mushrooms that the Sioux goat collected." The elder looked at Lin and thought that she had changed a lot, as if she was someone else. Not only was she no longer trying to seduce him, but she was also helping others wholeheartedly. It seemed that he was very wrong about her. Now that she has been proven not guilty, can the young elder help her get justice? The elder asked, "What kind of justice? What exactly?" And then Lin said, "Obviously, Goat Sioux must answer for first pushing her off the cliff and then slandering her." "What are you talking about? When did this? She ran off a cliff," the girl said. She said, still trying to justify herself. Snake Yan confirmed that he had found Deer Lin at the foot of the cliff. Just then, the girl who had witnessed it came in. She said, "That's right. She can prove that Sue's goat pushed Lin's deer off the cliff." Goat Sioux began to say at once, "She's an accident, but is the reindeer hurt?" And so on. Leopard Fu also stood up for Lin and said, "She is not hurt because he caught her. If he hadn't caught his sister, she would have crashed." Lin looked at the leopard and thought where he came from, and why he wanted to hurt her in spite of everything. And the leopard thought that it was a treacherous woman who had wronged her sister, and he must make her pay for what she had done. The goat began to cry and said to the young elder, "The deer and all the others are so mean. Doesn't anyone care but me?" Then the elder said, "Kazakh, that's enough. Why does she think she didn't get a portion of foodstuffs as well? What will you lie again?" The elder said, "From now on, the goat must collect 20 portions of provisions every day and give it all to the tribe. For 3 months, she will not get a gram of provisions." The elder said his father would punish her even worse than he did if she was not happy with his decision. "Then go to the tribal elder," screamed the fawn. She was pleased. Ilyin said, "Now yes," taking the Snake Yan under her arm, and they walked toward their cave. Lin thought that the young elder turned out not to be arrogant and unreasonable as she had previously thought. Zaylin ran Leopard Fu with the words, "Sister, wait." And the goat stood behind and thought that the deer she had humiliated her, so also made the young elder punished. She would not forgive such a thing. The elder saw that the goat was going to take revenge on the deer, but he was no longer concerned. The elder is more worried about this new guy, this beast man. If he is not mistaken, his strength is at the same level as the Yan serpent. Just why is he deliberately hiding his strength, this Leopard Fu? There aren't many beastmen roaming around outside, except for the group that nearly wiped out their tribe. If he has such power, does he have anything to do with those who wanted to destroy them? And why did he come to their tribe? He was very worried that nothing would happen to the tribe. When Lin came to the cave and wanted to go in, the Leopard Fu grabbed her leg and said, "Don't go. He's used to sleeping in the open air. Even if he gets sick, he can cure himself. But she's not outside, and he's afraid. He doesn't walk. He doesn't want her to leave." Then the serpent came up and took him by the neck, and he cried out, "Let go, you rascal!" And the Yan serpent said, "Beastmen who have been wandering since birth are accustomed to independence and survival in the wilderness. If he really was someone who couldn't hide even from the rain, he would have been dead long ago." Throwing out his hands like a stick, Snake Yan said, "Honey, don't let any more males approach you with potential desires. He's going to be very angry." He asked if the reindeer woman Lin understood. And then an elder came to them, coughing. He said, "Sorry to interrupt. The picture he saw threw him into a fever." Young elder. "What's wrong with you?" asked Yan. "He's come to talk to the Halen deer." The guys stood opposite each other, and the elder thought, Snake Yan's aura is so oppressive. He needs to find someone to discuss this leopard's intention with. Snake Yan easily let Deerling go to talk to the elder. While she was walking, he would just about settle his feud with Leopard Fu behind her back. When they stepped back, Lin and the elder, she said that she always knows how Yan snakes feel. He won't fight with the Leopard Fu after all. The elder said, "No, don't worry. He shouldn't." While Lin stepped back, Yan the serpent went to confront Fu the leopard. He grabbed him by the skybark and pressed him against a rock and said, "Don't think he doesn't know the habits of cats. The next time he dared touch his woman and leave his scent or pressed for pity, he would kill him." Leopard said that female beastmen, like his sister, can have multiple partners. Why not kill him before he kills him and when his sister is only his? Leopard said, "Just wait. When he becomes his sister's first partner, he will call him Big Brother." Snake Yan didn't say he was challenging him, the leopard said. He's just stating a fact. If he thinks that with his strength, his sister will only be his, he's deeply mistaken. "That's right," the serpent said. He had started their conversation too gently, swinging his fist at him and hitting him. At this time, the elder shows them their previous settlement. Lin asks the young elder where they are going, and the elder replies, "Once there was a tribe here. Now there are only ruins left." "Ruins?" asked Lin. "Yes," replied the elder. "At the time, the tribe was going through a difficult time. She was injured and unconscious for 10 days. She was cared for by a Yan serpent the whole time, so she may not remember it. They were suddenly attacked by wandering beastmen, and that's when the high priest died. The priests are the hope of the tribe. Only priests can awaken the strength and warrior spirit in ordinary beastmen. And with soldiers, the tribe will become powerful and prosperous." However, the wolf tribe was also in cahoots with the wandering beastmen. They not only captured our tribes, but also killed their priests. Then they had to flee into the mountains, and finally they came here. Then the young elder proposed to raise their tribe here, and the people replied that they believed they had not yet surrendered. "Young elder, they will follow you everywhere." They thought it was safe here, but only Snake Yan sensed something wrong. They had placed hidden weapons around the tribe, but he didn't expect that. The enemy will poison their water. Without a priest to stop the plague, he had to burn his people himself.